Good morning, Pastor Chris here. Welcome to the Poolside Chat. So, as I come to you this morning, I'm going to talk to you like, I don't know, the book of Esther in the Bible. I'm not going to use Bible verses, but I am going to everything I say will be found in, through, and around the Bible. Esther does not mention God, but you see God all through it. So, worldview. I was going to have a different talk this morning until just last night. And this is an answer to a question I've been asked. How can people, and it's again Charlie Kirk, but it's broader than that. It applies to all Christians. But I use the example of Charlie Kirk. How can one person hear Charlie Kirk speak and say, oh my gosh, he is so pro-woman? Strong women, independent women, how can he be so strong woman? It's amazing. And then somebody next to him can be, oh, I can't believe he is so anti-woman and against women and misogynist. How can someone hear a message from him where he supports homosexuality, or not, I shouldn't say that, where he supports people who live in a gay lifestyle, and then he'll hear somebody next to him to say how he hates people in a gay lifestyle, or transgender, or single women, or whatever? How can you have the same words and two different messages, interpretations? And I think there are a couple of different answers, but I want to go into one area in particular. So some of the answers are, it's a spiritual warfare, it's a battle. When you talk about Christian biblical values, people that don't have those values will fight against it. When you look in the Bible about spiritual warfare being a battle between good and evil in the spiritual, invisible realm, that's where this battle goes on, manifest in the hatred and killing of Charlie Kirk. You can have it very basic as a battle between good and evil, however you define those terms. But one of the things this boils down to, and we can have two different interpretations, is based in worldviews. So a worldview is how a person interprets reality. So for example, if you have an atheistic worldview, you believe in either the natural sciences or the laws of nature govern our reality, the world, how everything reacts. If you have a naturalistic worldview, you believe in science. If you have a pantheistic worldview, you believe God is in and through all things. If you have a Buddhist worldview, you have the energies that you can use for good or bad, and it's up to you. If you have a nihilistic worldview, you believe that you come in, eat, drink, and be merry, as we would say, and then die. And it's just like a grasshopper. If you have a postmodern worldview, there are no absolute truths. Your life experiences kind of define what is good, bad, right, wrong, evil, or beautiful. Truth exists. It's a social construct that just exists based on whatever you decide, basically. You can have a deist worldview where God set things in motion and step back and let things go just as they are. So worldviews are ways you interpret reality. Charlie Kirk, myself, have what's called a Christian worldview or a biblical worldview. Subtle differences, but for most, there's a lot of similarities, so I'm going to use these terms interchangeably. But what a Christian worldview believes is that God created the world, man blew it, and we became separated from God, but God didn't quit on us. And God is acting within the world to bring people to Him. And when you follow God, when you follow how He reveals Himself in the Bible, you want to live that way. Simply put, you love people, you honor and worship God. We are on a journey, it's what we call in Bible terms sanctification, to become more like God. But there's always these forces. Follow our own way and will before God, follow what God says. We try to live for God as we get rid of the things that are kind of against God, or for ourselves. And that's what Charlie Kirk did. So when you listen to him and he speaks up for God, that's what he has to do, because God chose him. And you want to bring that message of hope, healing, altruism, love, compassion, I am bringing Bible into it. To people, because that's what God brought to us, and then He uses us to bring it to others. But if God's message goes against another worldview, it'll cause conflict. Critical theory. If you believe that there was an oppression, I guess oppression is the best word, for a particular group, then your worldview is to correct. It's critical to act on that oppression to bring equality to people. These all go back to worldviews. And I say critical theory. You think critical race theory, that's the buzzword now. It used to be only in philosophy and theology schools. But you have critical queer theory, critical feminist theory. Critical theory is just where there's some group of people that have some kind of oppression that's happened that is critical to change that. So when these forces collide, if you have a biblical worldview, or I would say, some people say an open mind to hearing others, you see not the hatred, but you see the love, the dialogue, the freedom, the conversation, the compassion. But if it is coming for, a fight, an argument, then a biblical worldview will seem hateful. Will seem hateful. So how can somebody hear the diametric of, one message, it's great, and then the other message, 100-day opposite, it's fascist, it's awful. It's worldview. So I just wanted to share that today. And I know this doesn't directly answer the question, but I want you to look at worldviews, look at a Christian worldview or a biblical worldview, and see what these differences are and how they can cause conflict. But I will leave you with this. There is a term in the Bible, freedom in Christ. Freedom. We are free to serve God. We are free from having to obey sin. We are free from having to follow our own paths, our own desires. But freedom is part of the biblical worldview, which freedom of expression comes out of, which is why these conversations are held. So I hope this explains it. Had to do a little bit of studying again and refresh myself on worldviews. But in a nutshell, that's what we have. A Christian biblical worldview running against other worldviews. It can cause great love, enthusiasm, or it can cause great angst and anger. Guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, at FL Compass Church, and now on Instagram at FL Compass Church. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you Saturday.